Welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt here in my home once again on the Toxic Radio Network, and we are knee-deep into October. And so as such, of course, we have something spooky coming up tonight. We're going to be talking about a road that runs right through the heart of our area here that you guys may or may not know is actually cursed by Indians. So before we get to that, let me bring on the rest of the crew here. We have our esteemed producer, Mr. Toxic Mike.
Yay! It's day 5,670 whatever. Just it sucks. Okay.
Of the Corona apocalypse.
The Corona apocalypse. That's gonna be a movie one day. I can't wait till like years and years and years and years down the road when they do movies about the time we're living in. It'll be very interesting to see how it is portrayed in film later on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And joining us tonight for the first time in what feels like about 65 years, we have our co-host, Mr. Doug Hogate.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, it's been I've missed this so much, but obviously life has to take over and work and everything, but now I'm back and of course October too, so but I'm back and, haven't gone anywhere. I haven't fallen off the face of the planet or anything.
Much like the raising of the dead, Doug is back.
Yes, yeah. I figured, with it again, me being the ghost guy October, I've, woken up. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of it being October,
yes,
we have all in our area. We have a ton of different events going on. Even though the Corona apocalypse is going on, we still have all these events going on. And one in particular that we here at Paradelphia and Toxic Radio are partial to is happening this coming weekend up at the in Phoenixville at the Colonial Theater. And if that sounds familiar, you guys probably heard us talking about this past summer and last summer in July when they held their annual Blobfest. This year's was a virtual deal, but they are back. They are back, and tonight joining us is the man himself, Mr. Dash Daring, Chuck Francisco. Welcome back to Paradelphia.
Hey, Chuck.
Thanks for having me on again. Hi, Doug. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you finally. Yeah, again, like I said, I'm woken up this month, so.
Yeah, September is over. We woke him up and the guy from Green Day.
Yes.
So Chuck, you guys have July squared away with Blobfest. Now you guys are trying to take over October too. What's the deal, man?
That's true, and we're also pre-planning. Nobody knows this yet, so you guys getting the exclusive on this. We're pre-planning a thing for December too. So keep your not that I have to tell you to stay home, but keep your calendars open for December.
Check the calendar. All the awesome events. This one's the one you want.
Very cool. Very cool. So coming up this weekend, you have something called A Nightmare on Bridge Street.
That's right, A Nightmare on Bridge Street.
So why don't you let us all know what the deal is here? This is a virtual show again, or a virtual event again, and what's the skinny on this?
Yeah, so thanks. We're doing a marathon. We're starting at 6:00 in the afternoon this Saturday, and what we're sad. We're bummed. We love October because we just jam-packed the theater, this classic 1903 theater with Universal horror movies, Vincent Price movies, like all the stuff. It's such a great month, and we were bummed. So we said we really should just do something online. Everybody loved Blobfest. When I was on before, we were talking about the virtual Blobfest. It went over great. People were so excited. We had folks from all over the country attend. So we said, why don't we do another thing like that and just do a Halloween thing? And so we grabbed a bunch of our favorite black and white spookies, and we threw together some host segments and some sort of showmanship stuff. We got a T-shirt from our buddy Chris Garofalo, so folks can get his artwork, and we're really hoping this will make folks feel less sad about like a lot of the stuff we're not doing this month.
Yeah, and I got involved and I bought a ticket for the Blobfest, and it's when you hear about it, you think, oh, you're just I'm watching movies, and yeah, you are. You're watching movies at home, and you can stream movies, but it's also a situation where you also get the entertainment between the movies. You're getting the back and forth of. I think you guys are on a Discord server, correct?
So we'll have a chat room in Discord. We have an official Colonial Theater Discord. It's linked up on the ticket page.
Well, I'm joining that.
Yeah,
I love Discord.
It's great. It's just folks coming in and talking about what's going on, and honestly, it's just great also for time checks when people maybe they lose their internet and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm not synced up with everybody." So just the friendliness is great.
And there's this thing that's happening now. It's weird. The whole Corona apocalypse thing is bad in so many ways, but at the same time, you see certain niches that start coming back, like drive-in theaters, or one of those things. And what I'm noticing is, I know that you know him very well, Mr. Lobo, with his Cinema Insomnia show. They have been doing these watch parties on Facebook over the summer into the fall, and and you have Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder with his stuff going on. I think he's doing another special next weekend or this weekend or something like that. But
coming up,
you have these communities that start to build around these shows the way you used to decades ago when they were on broadcast TV. And you have the interaction back and forth with you and your buddies that meet online and talk about the movies that are going on, and it's a different aspect. It's a different angle on watching a movie that didn't exist before all this bad stuff happened. And I don't think it's something that's going to go away anytime. We were talking about this a little bit before the show, Chuck. I don't think this is something that's going to go away anytime soon.
This is sort of like a return to form, right? So we got away from this with streaming. People just like an entire TV show just dropped and you watched it as fast as you could so you could go talk about it online. That's where we were at before the pandemic with media. And we're going back to media as event, timed event. Joe Bob Briggs, who you mentioned, has a really great monologue about that, how people are asking him all the time, like, why do you do this? Like, why does your show drop on a Friday night at premiere? Like, why is there a premiere? And he said, like, it builds community. It brings people together. People look forward to 9 p.m. Friday night, hanging out with people online and talking about Joe Bob Briggs while they're watching it. We got away from this. And I think what you're talking about is it's a return. We had to do it, but it's actually a return.
I was just going to say it. And exactly. I mean, plus one of the advantages of it is neat because, when you go to a live event, obviously being live, it's one thing. But it does. You typically, when you're at a live event, you don't have that interaction. People don't know, strangers, things like that. I mean, this is bringing, again, like you said, everybody together to discuss it and just get different opinions and different things like that. So again, it's bringing such a wide scale and more interaction. I mean, nothing beats live, of course, but it's better than nothing at all, obviously.
When I was a kid, I remember on the first, I think it was the first weekend of September every year, they had the Saturday morning cartoons premiered for the fall. And that was like a bit like for us, for adults, it probably didn't matter, but for us kids, that was like huge.
Oh,
What kind of cartoon was going to be out? And then you talked about it in school.
The next day.
Did you see Pac-Man? Did you see the new Super Friends? Whatever it was. And it's sort of like you're saying, Chuck, it's sort of going back to that. Like, because you're right, you got away from it. People, they kind of shut down and watch the movie themselves. And it was more convenient, but it was less social. And now you, like you say, you're kind of going the other way with it a little bit. And it's a weird dynamic that's happened because of all this.
We're actually super proud too of we were bragging about it this week as tickets were coming in, and we're filling in the map, the United States map, all the different states that people will be watching for our event. And it's just so cool. People were like, "Oh, I didn't know about your theater, but now I heard about the Blob, and we're going to try to come out there after the world opens back up."
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. So what are the what is the lineup for Saturday?
So our lineup is actually it's weird how we sort of go all over the place, but we've got cartoons. We've got a whole bunch of vintage cartoons. We've got The Bat with Vincent Price. We're going to have Plan 9 from Outer Space. We'll have Dementia 13, which is interesting. It has a Blob connection. It's also directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It's his first full-length film that wasn't a softcore adult film. So he had directed two softcore adult films almost like the year before this. And so he directed Dementia 13, and it's got a Blob connection because they were going to just call it Dementia, which is the name of the movie that's playing in the theater when the Blob attacks everybody. But they couldn't because that film existed, so they just tacked on 13 because 13's a bad number. And then we've got George Romero's Night of the Living Dead as the capper there.
You got to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the swag, the T-shirt. Mike, do we have a picture of the T-shirt? There we go.
This one?
The T-shirt design. Well, how did this come to be? This is a pretty badass shirt.
That is
It's
very
Chris
awesome.
Garofalo, man. He is just a king. I love his work, and this is just very typical of Chris's style. And I think the idea here is I didn't talk to him about this, so I could just be completely wrong. And I hope he's watching and is like, no, that's not what I was doing. But obviously, the pumpkin and the gore and the oozingness, but with Chris's very obvious his texture work. Chris loves texture work, and you picked a great font for it. It's got that great feel. So I'm gonna love seeing people just random things with this on.
That is definitely a badass shirt.
Absolutely.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So what's the deal as far as the timing of all this, the cost of all this? When can people buy tickets?
So it's $15 total for the whole week, for the whole evening's marathon for the household. So you pay your $15 for the ticket. You'll get emailed a streaming link so you can jump on. I'll be online Saturday 5:30. I'll be live streaming on the Blobfest Facebook page just to like warm up, to walk everybody into it, make sure they've all got their tell them to open their links and get ready to go. And it's going to run. I think we timed it out to like 12:45 or so. So you're getting a good more than 6 hours worth of hanging out and watching cool movies.
Cool. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, hey man, again, we loved what you guys did with Blobfest the last couple of years that I've known about it. It's been going on for 20 years. I wish I'd have known about it all this time. I really do. It's such a fun time going up there. I hope you guys get to do it live next year. I really do. Fingers crossed.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
But this sounds like something cool too, and who knows? Maybe you can develop this into some kind of a live event come next October, and we'll be back up there again next year.
I feel like it's going to be a combo. Like you were saying before, everything is going to sort of come into a hybrid after this. We're not going to just completely walk away from all this new streaming.
Oh, absolutely. They're working hybrid into so many things. It's the way, and Rick knows that I'm a VR guy, and a lot of things are actually going into VR. And as technology evolves, I see some stuff like Blobfest being something where, because I use my Oculus Quest. It's over in the corner. But anyway, they have a thing in there called venues where you go and you see the person next to you and you're interacting, you meet these people, but you're in like a mezzanine where you get to look down at all the stuff going on. And I'm telling you, that's where it's going. That's, that's the future. Is we got this hybrid now, and you can watch like on your monitor or on your TV, or you can be there. But soon, you mark my words, guys, it's going to be virtual, and then you're going to see Chuck in here talking about join Blobfest virtually. It's going to happen.
It's like you're there, but you're not there, kind of, So
the virtual thing, and people are just watching in virtually, and it's going to be cool.
Your ticket, if you want a cheat sheet, if you're like a younger viewer and you're like, okay, I'm super cool, I'm ready for this new world, go back and watch 90s science fiction films, because they were all like, this is coming, and we were all like, that's BS.
Right, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I've talked about this on the show multiple times. That movie, I've said this probably half a dozen times over the years, the movie with Bruce Willis from about the mid-2000s called Surrogates.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. It's basically people living in their homes in little pods, and they're living their lives vicariously through like robots out in the world. So the world is basically populated by robots, and the people running them are in their own homes, like huddled into little pods.
That's
where we're not that far away, man.
No,
far away.
Everything's a premonition of what's to come and what has come. So,
Yeah. Well, Chuck, I wish you the best with this. We'll definitely promote the hell out of this for the next couple of days, and hopefully we'll get you guys plenty of business up there. And if you do anything like this, in the future, I know you mentioned you had some stuff planned for the future toward the end of the year. Let us know, man. We'll definitely have you back on, and we want to promote the Colonial as much as we can.
Awesome, guys. So, hey, so great to talk to you again. Hopefully we could do this again in a couple months.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, Chuck, you have a good night.
Nice
good luck this
Chuck.
weekend.
Take care.
All
Take care.
Yeah, right. That's definitely cool. And real quick too, you were mentioning before about how they're bringing in a lot of the drive-in theater. One thing actually, Melly and I just did a few days ago. It's really neat. It was about an hour away, but they did a thing. We bought a ticket, and it wasn't like your typical like Delsey drive-in. it was like a Snipes Farm is what it's called. It was up in Marsville or Morristown, PA. And they did this. It's like this whole Halloween event. They had people walking around. It was like an adult type thing. And they played the original Halloween from 1978. And it was just a really cool thing. I mean, of course, practicing social distancing, but again, outside, slowly bringing people together. So it's still, everybody's still trying to pull it together, but it's getting better.
It forces you to get creative, man.
Absolutely.
That's the good thing about all this. There's a lot of bad about this, God knows.
Bro,
but there is a good aspect of this, and it's literally forcing people to be creative, and it's going to wind up paying off in the long run.
Yeah, things getting canceled, like for example, like this year, every year we always do the Mullica Hill Ghost Walk. That's an event that's been canceled because of the pandemic, but like you said, much like we just talked to Chuck, it's opening all these things up, and it's only going to be for the best. So it's interesting to see how everything turns around and what becomes of it.
All right, so if you guys you want a good time this weekend, for $15, your whole house can log into the event and watch these 4 movies on Saturday night for over 6 hours. I'm looking forward to the cartoons.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm kind of curious about that. They start off with because that's what they used to do back in the day. This is before my time. I've heard about this. I didn't experience this. I'm not quite that old, but back in like the 50s and whatnot, when the kids would go to the theaters in the afternoon for the matinee, they'd see cartoons.
Right.
And then the movie would come on. You know. So they're kind of, that's probably what they're trying to emulate. That's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool.
Taking all the past things, making it more modern day, but adding that, of course, technology twist where you're socially bringing people together with the internet. So
and Chuck and the crew put on a really, really fun show. Like they like I said, it's not just you're not just streaming one movie after another. You have the Discord server that you can talk back and forth. Chuck and his crew come on and they do little skits in between, and it's entertaining. Like they kind of give you a little show along with your movies, and it's for $15. It's definitely worth
absolutely.
it.
God,
absolutely.
That's the price of one movie ticket. Just going to see one movie, and that doesn't even include popcorn and a trip there and everything. So
and I got to get me one of them shirts. Those shirts are pretty freaking badass.
Oh my God, that is such an awesome design, and it's so simple in a sense, but it's incredible. Like it is. It's definitely got to get one myself.
Very cool. All right, so that's coming this weekend. Again, Saturday. I guess tickets, I'm sure they're on sale now. I think they're on sale. I think he said they were on sale, till right around showtime, Saturday afternoon. So you guys have a couple more days to buy tickets. And again, I sat through the Blobfest over the summer, and it was a good time. I sat in my house. I wasn't out. I'd rather have been there, but it was a good time. I sat there.
But you had no lines for the bathroom, so it's all good.
Had my own popcorn, had no lines for the bathroom.
If you had a line for the bathroom in your own home, that just opens up a whole nother discussion.
Well, that does happen too. From time to time.
Well, I mean, I guess so. Never mind.
That does happen too.
Excuse me, sir. What are you doing? I'm waiting for the bathroom. How'd you get in my house?
Can I? Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our topic of the night. So I think we talked about this very briefly quite a while back. We did a show on some haunted highways. And I briefly mentioned this, and I kind of want to bring it back up again because it's so close, like logistically so close to us. It's not as close to Doug because I know you're down south, down in Salem County, but right here in Camden and Gloucester County, Route 55 cuts right through everything.
Oh yeah,
and it's a road that if you live in the area, you can't help but drive down at least once or twice a week. If you're going out of your house and doing anything at all. And so the story behind it, I it's not really that well known that this is actually a cursed highway.
Which I didn't even hear about that till you spoke of it in the past. So that's
and I have I don't have a personal experience myself, but a friend of mine, I'll tell you a story in a little bit. My friend of mine had what can only be described as a brush with the curse back when we were kids. So basically, go back to the beginning here. The history of all this. This road was built back in the 80s. It was commissioned in 1983, and basically what was happening was people were taking. Obviously the shore is a big destination point in New Jersey. Well, the only way you could get to the shore back then was all these back roads and then Route 42.
49, 42.
Yeah,
all
that eventually put you onto the Jersey Turnpike. Or I'm sorry, not the Jersey Turnpike, the Atlantic State Expressway.
Atlantic State Expressway, right? Garden State Parkway. I don't even
Right.
know how old that
The
is. Right.
expressway to the Parkway. That was for decades. That was how you got to the shore. The expressway to the Parkway, unless you wanted to take a lot of really winding, crazy back roads.
Right.
So, cutting through all of this, they decided to build this road, the highway, which eventually became Route 55, and basically they built it, started it near Deptford, and it goes all the way down to, I believe it cuts off somewhere in Dennis Township, if I'm not mistaken.
55. I do know it's just past because it's the way from where I am. Well, I guess all of us actually the way I go. I know just as you get through and past the Millville, it's another couple of miles before it actually takes from the 2-lane highway, and then it turns into Route 47.
Yeah.
So right. Yeah. So yeah, around Dennis. Yeah.
So back in '83, when the plans were first put out for the highway and made public, they were apparently poo-pooed by a local Indian group called the Delaware Indians. A chief of that tribe named Sachem Wyandaga. He actually was a chief and a medicine man.
Oh.
And he saw the plans, and he basically threw a fit because part of the road that was going through Gloucester County in Deptford was cutting right through, and it's going to sound like the cliche, cutting right through an Indian burial ground.
Wow.
There was an old Indian burial ground for the Delaware Indian tribe. That and when I say Delaware Indians, it sounds like a baseball team, but it's Delaware. Delaware was the name of the Indian tribe.
Right.
So the state Delaware took the name of the Indian tribe. Like the Lenape Indians. Lenape.
Right.
Yeah. So
wow.
The Delaware Indians. So anyway, they tried to get it stopped. They tried to put injunctions on it, and it didn't happen. And money talks, and
politicians and all that stuff. It
was more important to get a road that cut right through the heart of the area to get ease traffic on the turnpike and the expressway.
Right.
And hey, they just said, "The hell with your 200-year-old Indians, where we're going to go right through."
Yeah. Well, little do they know.
So they did, and they built the highway, and soon after, there were some kind of weird accidents that happened during the construction of the highway itself. So right after the construction began on the highway, again, some strange things. For example, while on the job site, one of the construction workers' feet, for no apparent reason, turned black,
just
as if it was
nowhere.
as if it was like gangrenous or something,
like kind of like frostbitten, so to speak.
Frostbite or gangrene, yeah, whichever.
Really?
It was never explained. The big one that you hear all the time, if you are looking into the story, was there was a worker who was actually run over and killed by an asphalt rolling machine.
Oh, that's a hell of a way to go! Wow.
And that has also been unexplained, which is a hell of a thing to be unexplained, because if it almost sounds like a cartoon. Like you see the people in the cartoon get run over and then they blow into the thumb and blow themselves back up again, and but this is a giant machine with the huge rolling ball in the front for the front wheel that pushes the asphalt down.
Right.
And apparently this thing somehow, some way, rolled over and killed a man.
So it's not like it was like some kind of coincidental, like he just got in the way. This thing just out of nowhere rolled. That's
right.
Man.
Another incident was a worker apparently was blown off of an overpass while he was working up on an overpass by a gust of wind that came out of nowhere. Wow. So this was supposedly a very calm day. It was a calm, sunny day, and somewhere out of nowhere, this giant gust of wind blew this. Now this guy didn't die. He was injured. He fell probably 30 or 40 feet.
Are you sure this guy wasn't drinking the night before?
That was not part of the story.
I have a buddy who works construction. I feel like this might have happened to him at one point.
Was he working back in '83?
No, he wasn't born yet, but who knows?
Now, was these incidents that like now you said they're all within the same vicinity or like just throughout
They were all basically
with,
concentrated in Deptford Township.
in that
Right.
area of the okay,
Near,
gotcha.
near the mall down toward I guess exit 53 or 52 is
I was
the
gonna
end of the
say, yeah,
Deptford area.
is it the mall? Yeah, like 52 or
Like
something, right? Something like that.
like 58 through 53,
Right.
I believe, is Deptford.
But close to where that Indian burial ground. It's not like it was like it's all within
Yeah,
that, in a
yeah,
sense, cursed land, so to
right.
speak. Okay.
You also
Wow.
had a number of workers and the workers' family members contracted cancer within a short period of time.
So not just
Wow.
the workers, like their
Family,
families.
yeah.
That is
Um,
insane.
a
Wow.
Department of Transportation vehicle caught fire and exploded,
Just out of nowhere, caught fire and
and
just
right, and just various other injuries. You know, nothing as serious, but yet odd, and odd in
right,
not necessarily odd in and of themselves, but odd in the fact that there was so many happening
right.
in such a small area. Because again, it wasn't the entire stretch of 55 all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically all concentrated in this area that ran like 5 miles
Right.
from the beginning of 55 through like exit 53 ish.
Right. Because obviously in construction, you're bound to have accidents. But again, like you said, when you have that many in that area, not only that families being affected, that starts to raise a few eyebrows as to
Right.
what the hell is going on here.
Right.
No,
And
no, Rick,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, and you might already have this planned, but I'm kind of over here Googling all about this. That's why I'm putting up pictures of the roads and everything as you're discussing it.
Mhm.
Now, have you seen this? This video keeps on coming up over and over again. Have you seen what I'm talking about?
The ghost.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to get to that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm a spoiler alert to Rick's story, but again, he's talking. The reason why I got kind of like, oh, I want to show this, is because it is right in our backyard.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not far fetched to be driving down this road and see what we're
Right.
about to get to. But go ahead. I apologize.
So no, that's fine. So if you drive down the road, any time in the past, well, it's been around for 35 or so years,
Mhm.
you'll notice that, and again, if you drive it often, you may not notice, but if you take the time to look, you do really see an awful lot of those roadside memorials
Yeah.
put up around that Deptford area. They're
Wow.
not, it's not every 20 feet. I'm not talking about that, but they're often enough that they're noticeable that they're there.
Just like within that area. Wow.
Right, and there's been a lot of incidents of car crashes and car fires that have
Mhm.
happened in and around that area. In fact, there was a limo driver who was working in a company down in Vineland, and he basically said that he traveled on that road very often, and he said that he saw and experienced various apparitions by the side of the road.
Mhm.
Now, whether that's a story he's telling, there's nothing to back that up. But
Right.
again, these are things that people come out with about this road without being asked,
And not to mention, it's such a dark ass highway.
it is dark.
I
They
mean,
don't have lighting on that highway for shit.
no, like not even. I don't even think there's a point. Just off of what I can think of, because I've traveled 55. Like you said, I mean, it's not a frequent being living down here unless you get up to certain areas, like
Yeah.
But just the time, yeah, like nighttime, it's so dark and just surrounded by a lot of woods and trees. So I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to notice any kind of apparition giving off some kind of light, you're going to see something.
So what Mike was about to describe a minute ago, in March of 2016, right near exit 53, at the
Mhm.
very edge of the Deptford area, in the wee hours of the morning, there was an apparition that was described by a gentleman by the name of Bill Hand, who actually had the wherewithal to take out his cell phone and record video. And
Mm.
basically, the apparition that he saw was a young woman in a white wedding dress and veil holding a bouquet of flowers. So if you watch this video, it's a very shaky, very quick video, but it does, I mean, to be the middle of the night, to have some woman in a of all things, a wedding dress, walking down the side of the road. This is a freeway. It's a highway.
And this is the video, Mike, you're playing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow,
And
look at that.
And the other thing with this sighting, and we know this guy from having worked for a while with, well, not with him, but in conjunction with him when he did his show back when we were with Wildfire, Big Daddy Graham, who is a well-known sports broadcaster in the area. He actually also saw this sighting. He saw this woman, and he reported it on the air the following day.
Mm.
So this isn't coming from like some local yokel. This is a guy who has a hell of a good reputation as a sports broadcaster in the area, and he went on air to say, "Hey, man, I saw this too."
Right, and there's numerous, like I said, numerous reports. Not just one person saw it, but like, I mean, that is an incredible video. Like, I mean, to be able to pull your phone out. I mean, was this a situation where he saw it at a distance, pulled over, grabbed his phone? I mean, I guess
I don't know. He didn't.
know,
I didn't explain it. Or he didn't explain it.
Right,
now,
but that's wow.
There's my lighting.
That is crazy as all hell. I would not be pulling out my phone. I'd be
like, you need a ride? I got some questions for you.
A little poop might come out. I might pee a little, and I'm going to hit the gas.
Now, supposedly, after this happened and it went public and it went viral because it was all over the news for a few days back in 2016, the Department of Transportation and the Deptford Police Department came out and they claimed that they had an explanation for this. That what their explanation was that it was not a ghost, that it was a teenage girl who had wandered off from a place nearby called the Robin's Nest, which is a local children's services facility. So this is the story that went out there, and maybe that's what happened. But again, you come back to, okay, if a girl wandered out of this child services facility, would she be wearing a wedding dress and veil, carrying flowers?
That's what I was going to say. Like, what?
Like, I can understand maybe somebody being there. Somebody got loose from the facility. Maybe you saw a person. I get it.
Right.
Would they be wearing a flowing wedding gown with a veil and flowers?
Exactly. There's some specific things that you're right. It just doesn't add up. I mean, obviously any question and explanations can come up, especially if you have that skeptical mind. But again, like that, like what would be the reasoning behind that? You know, like that's very, very interesting. And again, the video is just so incredible.
Now, I told you guys when I started this story that I actually had a somewhat personal experience with this. I didn't have it myself, but I'm going to say this was probably 1991 or 92. You know, we were the party kids. We would go down to the shore and party on a Friday and Saturday night. And being 20 whatever years old, we all had retail jobs. So basically, you know, it was no big deal to go down there and party at night, drive back in the middle of the night, and open up a retail outlet store at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock the next morning. So this is what we were doing as kids. And there was a party down in Wildwood this particular night that all my buddies and I went down to. And my one particular friend, his name is Mark, he had to open up a store that he worked at the following morning. So he did exactly what I described. He went to the party for a while, and then about, I want to say midnight-ish, he drove home. And he had the brother of another buddy of mine went with him. So the two of them were riding home in the middle of the night, basically to drive back home. Probably about, I want to say, right around the same area, right around exit 53, 50, 52, 53, 56, somewhere in that area. His car, now this was in 91, 92. He had a 85 Buick Regal. And when you're kids, your car is your thing. You don't have a house. You don't have responsibilities. You dump all your money into your car.
And you have parties in your car, which I did.
So he had this thing tricked out. He had the $1,000 Blaupunkt stereo system and speakers. He had the white walls. He had all this shit done to this car. It was
money
his,
on the motor or anything.
Yeah,
just everything else.
It was his baby.
Right.
So he had this thing. He had this thing running like a top, and he had this thing tricked out. He gets to about exit 53 or so, and all of a sudden they start smelling smoke, and all of a sudden they start seeing smoke coming out through the air vents. Long story short, smoke starts pouring into the car. They get out of the car. Now, there's no cell phones at this time. This is 1991-ish.
Right.
So basically, what they had to do was sit there and watch as my buddy's
Oh.
car burnt to the ground
No.
on the side of
Wow.
Route 55, and there was no explanation for it.
It's just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Oh my
He
god.
went into the car. He grabbed what he could. I think he grabbed his speakers. He like undid his speakers in the trunk.
Just
Like all
kind of
this,
whatever he
all
could
this
get.
money. Yeah, all this money he put into this car. Grabbed it, got out, sat by the side of the road, and literally watched his car burn to the ground.
And just
Yeah.
like, and again, like you said, if he putting that money into, I mean, obviously it was well taken care of. It's obviously
Yeah.
not a piece
So-
of crap. So it's
Yeah.
just
So was this part of the curse? I don't know. This guy
Right.
had this car really well maintained. It was only a 6 or 7 year old car.
right,
Cars don't just burn to the ground.
right. That's
Like,
Well, when you
thing-
have a really, really evil ex-girlfriend, they do. So I'm just saying that there's possibilities behind that where everybody just looks at each other and goes, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
But what you didn't know
right.
was his ex-girlfriend, Missy. She
Or
had
the girl on the side that didn't know
Yeah.
about his ex-girlfriend Missy,
right, the
Somewhere.
side chick.
The
You don't know.
side chick.
She teamed up with the Indians and said, you know what?
Yeah, you're like, yeah, let's do this. You know.
Right.
I'm just putting that out there. I'm just
Well, you know, there was if Jean was on, you know, she'd be able to help explain it also. But a few years back, Jean and I, when you remember Sarah and
Dawn.
Dawn, yeah, from S&D Paranormal.
Right.
And they needed help on a case, and years ago they had asked me, and I had asked Jean also to help. And this is actually the gentleman that I always talk about when I say that, you know, I seen Jean bring, you know, guys who are in the weight room every day, buff, like go to their knees crying. And this specific gentleman actually, and Jean, obviously we all know Jean's gift, brought this whole thing up herself, which is what brought the guy to tears. But anyway, you know, this gentleman was, and of course I remember it was right around the Deptford area. I mean, I don't know how far or specifically, but I can remember it was around the Deptford area because that's where we were. Mentioned how when he was younger, and he never told anyone, not even his wife, until that night when Jean mentioned it, about how he was driving one night. I think he was on his way home from work, from what I could recall. But out of nowhere, he said he honestly wasn't speeding or anything like that. And out of nowhere, just his car just rolled. And he, for what he explained after Jean kind of brought it up, was that he just remembers the car going out of control. And the next thing he knows, he remembered somebody pulling him out. And then him sitting on the side of the road waiting for like emergency services to come.
Right.
When come to find out, once they got there, he's thinking that it was someone, like a passerby, helped him out and then just went off. No one had arrived. So he explained that there was some kind of, he thinks someone pulled him out of that car that he has no idea who or what, but maybe some other power, or whether it be
Right.
paranormal, whatever the case is, because no one else was there.
Yeah.
And it's just another prime example. Could that not necessarily not a curse, maybe the curse of something mysterious making this guy's car roll, and, you know, but also something saving him, so to speak. So again, another prime example.
I say it was Bambi.
Bambi, there you go. You know,
A deer came up and pulled him out.
because that's what's one of the things that he had mentioned of why he never told anyone about it. I mean, people knew about him being in an accident, but just the whole story of somebody pulling him out, and they said, no, you pulled out of it, you climbed out yourself. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, because he thought people were going to think he's crazy, or he was crazy for explaining that. So again, you know, it kind of makes me want to like drive out there and just sit all night.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those things where, I mean,
Doug's sitting out there all night.
I'm on the side,
and
state
people are
police
passing
out.
by.
I
Next time
know.
you see a
I'm gonna
video
be
of
the
Doug
next
on the side of the
video.
road, they think he's the ghost. They
I'm
don't know
gonna
what
be-
he's doing.
I'll be in a white wedding dress trying to provoke, and I'll be like, this guy in a white wedding dress. I'm
There's
just looking for the ghost.
there's There's a weird guy on the side of the road.
Next thing you know, he's in the loony bin. We've got to go bail him out.
Robin's nest, yeah. Be like,
Well,
go
you see,
do
we
it
did
now.
this show, and I was just curious.
I just want to. I blame Rick, but go to go talk to Rick Pruitt.
He must be from the early 2000s. He has a goatee.
Yeah, right, exactly. I haven't caught up with times yet. Oh man, now you got me wanting to do it just for the fun of it.
Yeah, right.
The fun.
But no,
what are you doing for fun tonight? You saw on the
Going
side
to
of the road in a
55.
wedding dress.
Sit at 55 with a wedding dress on, with a goatee.
So I'll leave you with this, with the story. There was a question asked of the Indian chief Wayanadega in an interview years later about whether or not this was a real curse, whether or not, if it was, they would lift the curse. And his answer was this: the damage is done. The problem is I feel sorry for some of the people who will be traveling on that road in the future. So there was no chill from the chief that night.
Wow.
And in other words, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, even in the line of work of investigating, one of the biggest rules there are is if you know of an area that's an Indian burial ground, first of all, if you're even going to get close, you got to have special permission, number one, which you're never granted because of that. But if it's one thing that I'm not, when it comes to anything paranormal, investigating spirits and things like that, I've been through it all, not afraid. But if it's one thing that I can say that I don't want to mess with, it's going around Indian burial grounds, because if they're more in touch with anything spiritual wise, that it can make or break you, no doubt.
But it is very interesting that Indian burial grounds are like the sacred thing, and I get it. I understand the spiritual thing,
right?
But like a lot of things are spiritual. Like, why aren't we worried about the Scientologist burial ground or the sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No,
or like this religion burial ground or that burial ground, or like I'm just, is it just because they had a heightened connection with things?
And I think that's it.
There's nothing else that we know of as human beings has had that connection. Like, what about a Wiccan burial ground? Like,
you're absolutely right. And
we had that interview. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We had that interview. Right. We had that interview last week. What was his name? Say his name again.
Sal Santoro.
Right, and he was very spiritual, and like that community is very spiritual. Like, it's very interesting that we look at the Native American. Somebody made us correct that burial grounds, or Indian burial grounds are so secret, so sacred, but all these other ones aren't. It just kind of makes you go,
And you're right, and I agree, and that's the thing. What makes that any more different than, again, any other religion or anything like that? And much like you had said what you first said was the fact that, I mean, Native Americans, that out of any religion, whatnot, I mean, they were more than, in a sense, just religion, so to speak. I mean, you look at, they're just so in tune with everything, mind, body, spirit. It wasn't just, it was more than just, I feel, than, looking in a book and translating it however you do, like religions do, and worshiping that. I mean, they had this, I don't know, for some reason, I just had this knowledge or whatever, and just
but
with more,
Does that mean that maybe, and I don't know, I'm just thinking,
right? No, absolutely.
Maybe they had it right in terms of being in touch with everything. Like, you always and everybody has their own spiritual thoughts and spiritual connection with whatever religion or whatever entity they want to have. Did Native Americans, Indians, did they have it right in the way that they were connected with everything, that even in the afterlife, if you mess with them, it could cause an issue?
And
did they have it right?
I'm with you 100%. That's what I think, because they look at everything as a whole rather than just, again, reading in something and going by that.
I think certain religions look at burial places more seriously and more ritualistically than others. Like like a Christian burial ground is a sacred place in the sense that you don't want to mess up the graves and you don't want to disturb the graves.
Sure,
it's
any burial ground, any cemetery.
But I have to say, in that sense, also, it's more for the living in that respect, for a place
Yeah.
to go
Right.
to. It's more for us instead of a burial ground for the soul to all the other stuff. It's more for us for a place to go visit.
And you don't
have
see
our peace.
people standing over top of a grave, on a yearly basis and having some kind of ritual
Right.
in that place. Like they're not necessarily tied to the place. They're
not
tied
to the
they're tied to the
spot.
person.
Right, to the one spot. They're going to visit that one spot that means something to them instead of going there to visit everybody as a whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I get you. I get you.
Yeah. So that's why, like I said,
it's interesting.
I feel they, Native American, they know so much more and can do so much more and have that power because, again, everything as a whole, not just a belief in one thing. So
yeah. All right. Well, it's been an interesting evening. And again, if you guys are on Route 55, keep an eye out, man. Keep an eye out because,
like I said,
I'm not.
Yeah, keep an eye out on me in the wedding dress.
Look for Doug.
I'm speeding through. I'm not looking for Doug.
Honk if you see Doug.
Anything. I'm not honking at Doug.
In my brand new white Ford Expedition, must I say? Yes, I got me a new vehicle, so I'll be in a white wedding dress with a new white Ford Expedition with my four-ways on.
Oh, OJ.
Hey, OJ, yeah, right.
I'm not driving down 55 ever again. If I see a woman in a dress, I'm not stopping. I might actually swerve and hit her.
What if she's hot?
And then I find out it was Doug.
What if she's hot with a goatee?
Hot with a goatee.
Hot with a goatee.
Hello, Michael.
That used to be on my Tinder profile. Looking for hot with a goatee. That's what I'm looking for.
55, Michael.
Yes. Will you wear a wedding dress? Where would you like to meet on 55?
A lot of swiping left there, huh?
Pants will be on there. Don't worry, pants will be on.
All right, so right. It's been a fun night. Again, I want to thank Chuck Francisco for coming on, talking about his virtual event up there at the Colonial Theater this weekend, A Nightmare on Bridge Street. Again, you guys can go to their website, colonialtheater.com. Tickets are $15, and again, you get access for your entire household to view the event. And it starts, I believe, he said at 6:00 that night, or I think he said he's going to jump onto the server at 5:30 to do like a pre-show thing. And they're going to start the event at 6, and it runs for however long it takes them to do 4 movies and all the cartoons. And I think he said 6.5 hours, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Let me see if I still have the thing up. I do. So let's just show this back over.
Right. I'd like to add one more thing before we sign off, too, just to add on. So.
Right. So this is at thecolonialtheater.com where you can find out all this information, get your tickets, and the lineup is right there as well. So go check that out.
Hey, have a fun night at home and interacting with others.
All right, and we'll have all his links up on our social media and the show notes. Doug, what were you going to say?
No, I just wanted to, kind of put a little thing out there, which Rick I'd mentioned I would talk to you more about it also. But I've always had this thought of doing it, and I've actually been doing a lot of research lately, and I really think, especially getting into the new year coming up, but you always hear all these things. We've covered it many times about the paranormal going around throughout the Pine Barrens. Pine Barrens takes up 51% of our entire state of New Jersey. And I'm not just talking about ghosts and things. I'm talking about places like Ong's Hat, where you have missing time. You have UFO stories, Bigfoot sightings, Jersey Devil, of course. Well, I have been looking up some of the most significant cases out there, and I really want to kind of put together and start even documenting and investigating fully some of these cases, like, again, Ong's Hat and Jersey Devil sightings, kind of putting together like a Project Pine Barren, Paranormal Pine Barren kind of thing. Because people have researched and investigated different things like that, but really concentrating and see what can be uncovered fully. Yeah. And what kind of truth we can put in behind some of the stories that have been around for decades.
We did a show a few years back with I forget the gentleman's name now, but he was an expert on all that folklore on the Pine Barrens.
I actually I've been in touch with him. It's been a couple of months, but I actually reached out, kind of giving him a little insight, and he actually is very excited and said, as soon as I get all the details worked out, let him know, because he'd be a perfect guide with it. He'd like to get a hold of Mario about documenting, but I think it'd be pretty fun and very interesting. So it's something I've wanted to do for quite some time, and I've really been looking into it a lot lately, and want to do it, plan it out carefully, but really get in to see what happens. So
There's plenty of room out there to social distance.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. 600 feet away versus 6. So.
Yeah, right. Doubly careful.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
All right, yeah, we'll look into that, and who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be something in the future down the road.
New Travel Channel show.
Yeah, right. All right. So again, thanks to Chuck Francisco for coming on. Again, look for the virtual Nightmare on Bridge Street on his colonialtheater.com website this Saturday starting at 6. You guys can go buy tickets, $15. The kick-ass T-shirt that we showed you a few times up on the stream here.
Mhm.
You guys go buy that. All the money that you guys give them for the T-shirts and the events goes towards maintaining that theater through this shitty time, and hopefully they'll get back on their feet and have live events going forward next year. And we'll go out there and we'll bring you them, because I want to do that too. I want to get out there with cameras and start doing live, in the moment, real time stuff at their theater, because their stuff is really cool, and it's a really, really cool old theater.
Yeah, get the vibe, feel the energy, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I know.
Absolutely.
I miss touching you guys too.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that being said,
this has gone off the rails real quick. All right. So again, thank you guys for listening. Thanks to Doug for coming in tonight.
Hey, and I'll be back next week too. I'm back.
All right, brother.
Back at it. So
Mike, thanks again for the production end. And thank you guys for listening. So for Doug, for Mike, I'm Rick. We are Paradelphia, and we are out of here.
$55.
maximum effort.